5 million signatures demanding Argentina be kicked out of the World Cup. Sounds like a global rebellion, doesn't it? But wait, did 5 million real people actually sign? Or is it just 5 million ticks on a digital counter? What's actually being counted here? Real people, random clicks, or just pre-programmed outrage? And the funny thing is, the less people question it, the more believable that number becomes. Isn't that just the classic magic of the internet? Start a little rumor, throw in a photo of Messi's, scream FIFA bias, and boom, you've got a global truth. But this didn't start with some online petition. It's started with the one thing modern football pretends it can control but can't: fan sentiment. Argentina entered the 2026 World Cup as the defending champions. Messi was 39 years old, with every single match framed as the final chapter of a Legend 11. And when a legend walks onto the pitch, you know the cameras will follow his every move. But are the referees watching just as closely? Or rather, who do the fans believe they are protecting? The spark caught fire in the round of 16 when Argentina faced Egypt. Egypt took the lead, Argentina began to wobble, and the rest of the world could smell a massive upset. But then, in the final 13 minutes, Argentina struck back with 3 goals to win it 3-2. A breathtaking, heart-stopping comeback. Or a script so perfect it practically begged to be questioned. That was the question on everyone's lips the second the final whistle blew. Earlier in the match, Egypt had a goal chalked off by VAR. The official reason: Marwan Atiyah had allegedly fouled Lisandro Martinez. Was it the letter of the law or just highly convenient? For Argentina, it was a perfectly correct VAR intervention. But for Egypt, it was the exact moment their dream was dragged back by an invisible line. Then, late in the game, Mohamed Salah went down in the box. No penalty. No whistle. No explanation came fast enough to put out the raging fire. Seconds later, Argentina countered and scored the winner. If you're an Egyptian fan, do you call that the champion's mentality? Or do you call it a slap in the face wrapped in technical VAR jargon? The Egyptian Football Association openly demanded answers. Their manager, Hossam Hassan, didn't hold back either, slamming the officiating. FIFA replied with their usual corporate script: independent refereeing, standard procedures, and baseless accusations. It sounds incredibly official. But if fairness needs that many words to explain itself, does it really look like fairness anymore? Little did anyone know, the Egypt match was just the warm-up act. A few days later, Argentina faced Switzerland. And VAR, that unseen character who doesn't wear a kit but always steals the spotlight, took center stage once again. That was when a certain petition website started going absolutely viral. No legal files needed. No verification of identity required. No actual proof required. Just a massive number climbing higher, and a button that was all too easy to click. That's all it took for the internet to crown itself the court of the world. But is the gavel in that court's hand actually real? Or is it just a sound effect? The match against Switzerland turned a spark into a wildfire. Argentina opened the scoring, but Danendoy pulled the match back to level terms. Switzerland believed they had exposed the champions' vulnerability. Then Breel Embolo received a second yellow card after a VR review. The decision was based on behavior deemed to be simulation. Switzerland were down to 10 men. Argentina went into extra time and won 3-1. On the scoreboard, it was a legitimate victory. On social media, however, it was just the latest episode of the drama titled "Who is Being Protected?" 2 games in a row. 2 major controversies. And the same team goes through. Can you really blame the fans for connecting the dots? But does connecting the dots mean the picture they paint is actually the truth? Just as suspicion reached its peak, the Argentina Out website appeared. The homepage wasn't exactly subtle. Messi FIFA favoritism kicked them out of the World Cup. More than enough keywords to let logic take a break and send emotions into overdrive. Beneath it, a signature counter kept ticking up continuously. 1 million. Then 5 million. And then even larger numbers kept being shared. As the numbers ballooned, people bowed to them as if they were the final verdict of history. But did anyone ask what that counter was actually counting? Are there any names of the signers? Any email confirmations? A country, an identity, or even a bare minimum layer of verification? No. All users had to do was click. Even the curious could click just to watch the numbers jump. So was that a real signature or just a reflex of a finger? The internet loves to call every single click the voice of the people. How convenient. After all, a voice of the people that doesn't require actual people to verify is much easier to control. The website even placed the Messi versus Ronaldo debate right next to the campaign. And just like that, referees, idols, ego, and anger were all tossed into the same melting pot. Do you really think the goal is justice? Or is it to keep users hooked for just a little bit longer? Just because there are ads doesn't mean you can conclude everything is fake. But you also can't look at a 5 million on a screen and call it 5 million real people. So what actually happened? To find out, we have to do the one thing the internet hates the most. Read the fine print. Not the red text. Not Messi's face. Not the outrage button. But the terms and conditions buried at the bottom of the page. Exactly, the truth is rarely printed in big bold letters. After all, if it were, who would ever click on it? At the very bottom, the mask finally slips. Argentina Out describes itself as a satire and entertainment page. Not a legal petition. Not a case submitted to FIFA. Not an official campaign with real names attached. And then comes the single sentence that makes 5 million signatures vanish in seconds. The counter is simulated. Yes, simulated. Not 5 million real people. Not 5 million emails. Not 5 million signatures waiting for a stamp. Just a generated number designed for visual effect and entertainment. Yet, thousands of accounts peddled it around as proof of public opinion. How touching. We don't even need to count votes anymore. Just a big enough number and a few people in too much of a hurry. But hold on, does that mean all the anger towards Argentina is completely pointless? No. And that's the most frustrating part. The controversy in the Egypt match was real. The reaction from the Egyptian Football Association was real. Hossam Hassan really did lash out at the referee. Breel Embolo really was sent off against Argentina. The Swiss genuinely believed the game was altered. Those decisions deserve proper scrutiny. But instead of analyzing them, the internet chose hysteria. Why analyze the rules when a fake counter is so much more shocking? Why review the footage when a picture of Messi next to the words disqualified from the World Cup is so much more enticing? And just like that, a real controversy gets tied to a fake number. The anti-Argentina camp uses that number to prove a conspiracy. Meanwhile, Argentina's defenders use the fine print to completely brush off any valid questions about VAR. Both sides simply choose the version of the truth that suits them. That isn't a debate. It's just two armies hurling screenshots at each other. A fake counter doesn't prove the referee was right. And a controversial decision doesn't turn that simulated counter into real signatures. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. And as usual, that's where the fewest eyes are watching. Even if we assume those 5 million signatures are real, Argentina doesn't just get disqualified automatically. The World Cup isn't a game show where the audience texts in to vote off contestants. FIFA has an appeals process, strict deadlines, and legal standing. If you want to protest, you need a case. If you want action, you need evidence. If you want sanctions, you need authority. It's not just some big red button. It's a pity for anyone who thought they could run world football with just their thumbs. Sure, an online campaign can build public pressure, but it doesn't replace the rulebook. It doesn't launch an investigation. It doesn't hand out punishments. All it does is create noise. And noise, when it gets loud enough, is easily mistaken for real power. But that's not where the real damage lies. It's in the fact that while everyone is busy counting fake signatures, nobody is counting the real questions anymore. The ultimate secret isn't hidden in the counter's source code. It's in the mindset of those who are all too ready to believe it. Why was that 5 million figure so convincing? Because it tells people exactly what they already wanted to believe, that Messi is just too important to the World Cup, that FIFA needs him to go as deep into the tournament as possible, that VR always knows how to step in at just the right moment. But wanting to believe something and actually proving it are two entirely different things. And the internet absolutely hates the gap between the two. So it bridges that gap with pure emotion, with doctored photos, with all caps headlines, and with a counter ticking faster than anyone can actually verify. You can understand why the Egyptians are angry. You can understand why the Swiss are outraged. You can understand why neutral fans are skeptical. But suspicion isn't a verdict. Outrage isn't evidence. And 5 million on a screen is not 5 million actual people. Until this campaign exploded, there was zero public evidence that FIFA ordered anyone to protect Argentina. No documents confirming referees were instructed to get Messi to the next round. No official ruling concluding that Argentina cheated. All that's real are controversial decisions and a massive trust gap. The website just took that gap, poured fuel on the fire, and slapped a big number on the screen. And that was enough to get millions of people arguing over something that didn't even exist the way they thought it did. Do you really need a grand conspiracy? Not necessarily. All it takes is an algorithm that feeds on outrage, and viewers who love having their biases confirmed. And those clickbaiters love nothing more than a never-ending war. And just like that, the machine feeds itself. A parody page turns into a global movement. A mock counter is hailed as the voice of the people. A non-binding petition turns into a genuine threat to Argentina. And who wins in the end? Not Egypt. Not Switzerland. Not the fans. Only sensationalism wins. The real tragedy isn't that Argentina was almost disqualified by 5 million signatures. Argentina was never actually subject to that mechanism. The tragedy is that the real debate over VAR got buried under a fake story that was easier to sell. People argue over Messi versus Ronaldo. They abuse FIFA. They show off screenshots of the counter. Yet very few actually ask if refereeing standards are consistent. FIFA can keep claiming the process was correct. But if the fans no longer believe it, is that answer really enough? Fairness doesn't just need to exist. It has to be seen and clearly explained. And the audience isn't innocent either. If you hate Argentina, you should be even more eager to verify the claims against them. If you love Messi, you must have the courage to look at the decisions that went his way. Otherwise, we aren't looking for the truth. We're just looking for ammunition to win an argument. In the end, those 5 million signatures became a symbol. Not a symbol of 5 million people, but of an era where numbers are believed before they are ever verified. Behind it, there is no list of names. Just a mock counter and a crowd too rushed to read the fine print. So after all, who was actually fooled? FIFA? Argentina? Or the very people who shared that number as if they were sharing the absolute truth? To this day, the controversy is still raging. But at least one mask has fallen. And the ultimate question still hangs in the air. Now that we know those 5 million signatures weren't actually 5 million signatures, will people demand better evidence? Or are they just waiting for a bigger number to believe next?